Hello and welcome to StroongeCast episode 75.
Don't just throw it away.
You know, that's only 25 away from 100. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We're on the way to some cool stuff. I want to talk about this, but I can't yet. But let's talk about your week instead. I'm excited about this episode, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This week is half term.
It is.
So the kids are at home, which is super nice. But yeah, it's been quite chilled. I've been quite busy.
Yeah.
But the kids, Jake's been in and out, seeing friends, doing revision classes at school.
And he chose to go to one, which is
choose.
just amazing.
Yeah. And I took Alice to Westfield, which was crazy busy, as you can imagine.
You said it made you feel like a mum.
Oh, I think I'm just reaching that age where I'm just starting to feel really mumsy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the impending 40. I don't know. But there were just so many teenagers and so many girls just wearing like really tiny tops. And I was thinking, it's so cold. It's freezing.
Why are you putting yourself through
Why? But yeah, and then I sort of caught myself. I was like, this is such a mum thing to say.
It's funny.
But no, we had a nice time, and
I got my cookies.
You got your cookies.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of been about it, really.
I always ask her to bring me back these particular cookies from Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah, the triple. Well, they used to be like just the like dark chocolate. Now they're triple chocolate, so they've changed the recipe.
They're so nice, though.
But yeah, they are your favorites.
And it was even better because you saw them being baked.
We did. They didn't have them,
fresh.
and we were like, "Oh no, Daddy's going to be so sad." And then we saw the guy had bagged them up and was like putting the labels and stuff on them, and so we asked, and he did it specially.
Oh,
so they were as fresh can be.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And your week?
Really, really interesting, actually. For a number of reasons, but the primary reason is because Ableton Move, which is a device that I got back in 24.
The tappy tappy.
Yeah, the tappy tappy.
Yeah.
That Jake helped me fix earlier in the year, a few months ago. I actually don't remember when. I think it was a few weeks ago. Time flies, right? Which is all about saving things. Got a major update in two ways. One, the company themselves updated it, which is interesting. But more interesting is that we discovered a third-party, we'll say ethical hacker, if you will. He found a way to hack the device to bring something monumental for us to device, and that is onboard screen reading. So until now, the only way to access it with a screen reader was to go to a web browser on your phone or PC or Mac or whatever, right? Which is fine, but the whole point of this device is to be able to be standalone. So you can sit on the sofa or on the bus or on a cruise ship and play music. But you don't always know where you are when you do that. So you had to have a phone nearby or a PC or whatever. But he managed to kind of slipstream a screen reader on device, along with a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Some crazy synthesizers and just a fantastic human being. And he joined our WhatsApp group of blind move makers. That's what I should have called the group, actually. I didn't think of it till now. Move makers.
That would have been really cool.
I know, I could rename it, but my gosh, that's clever. And he's been just a trooper, really. We've given him some fixes we wanted doing, and he's done a really good job at that. And yeah, it's been an incredibly cool week. And all of us that use this thing are extremely excited about what he's done.
Nice.
So that's been super cool. It's had me play with this device a lot more in the last week than I have in the last 3 months.
That is really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you find like a new
lease of
love
life
for something.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I'll come back to this in a bit when we talk about our topic because it's kind of fitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, first of all, quiz us all.
Well, if I read the comments, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
So we had a comment regarding the answer to the previous week from Garrett, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who just sort of said that he had no idea about the speeding ticket and assumed that it would have been in America.
Because everything is.
Yeah, because there are some fairly bad drivers around there. He also said that he thinks that the answer to this week's quiz question, which was, if you had cynophobia, which animal would scare you?
Yeah.
Would it be dogs, cats, birds, or snakes? He believes that it is snakes.
Okay.
We also had 2 other comments. So we had James Berry,
Yes.
who said it is a fear of dogs or wolves, apparently on a non-rational basis. Whereas a fear of bees or wasps would be based on the notion of being stung.
Oh, okay.
I think the fear of dogs or wolves, cynophobia, it doesn't have an actual basis behind it. That's what he thinks. And Marie also said that she believes it is a fear of dogs, which she used to have really badly, but now it's not as significant.
Okay.
And it is correct.
So it's not snakes.
It's not snakes. It is dogs, because cyno is the Greek word for dog.
Oh.
So that's where it comes from. So
You live and learn.
yeah, there you go. We learned some Greek. This week's question is: Iceland diverted roads to avoid disturbing communities of what mythical beings?
Okay. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even begin to think about that.
So is it trolls, fairies, hobbits, or elves?
Ah, it's multiple choice, right.
Yeah. It's multiple choice.
Intriguing.
There we go.
Excellent. All right. So why are we talking about this / what is it exactly? What got you onto the thought behind it?
Well, so our title, Don't Just Throw It Away.
Yeah.
We are talking about overconsumption, which is a huge problem. But I think that term overconsumption, I feel like is quite a key word at the moment. I've had lots of people talking about it and discussing ways in which we can do small things as regular people.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, the majority of waste, when you look at statistics and things, comes from the big, massive companies, which is, really not something that we would have control over. But we can all do something small to help.
Yes.
So overconsumption is basically just using more than you need. So buying more food than you need, buying more clothes than you need, stuff, replacing things when they don't need to be, just throwing them away, not having that kind of respect, I guess, for the things that you buy and use.
I like it. Okay.
So I just thought it would be a good and interesting one for us to talk about, and maybe some ways that we as a family either try and help the overconsumption or things that we should change.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I can see that. What do we do already? I mean, we donate clothes, for example, don't we, to, I can't remember the name of the place.
Yeah, so, I mean, just some of the statistics that I found, which I thought, were pretty crazy, to be honest. And there's a lot that's sort of between the UK and America. I mean, I'll try and stick to the statistics that are in the UK just because it applies a bit more to us personally.
Mm-hmm.
But household food waste, for example, it is, so these are statistics from 2024 to 2025.
Yeah.
And UK households throw away 6 million tons of food and drink every year.
That's not an insignificant amount, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So 73% of that is edible.
What?
So it's just wasted.
That's
it
frightening.
equates to roughly 88 kilos of food waste per person per year, at a cost of £1,000 per year for a family of 4.
Which is us.
Yeah. And nearly 40% of household waste happens because it's not used in time, and a quarter of it is due to either cooking or serving too much, so then it gets wasted.
Okay.
So, I mean,
I don't feel like we do a lot of that.
no, I think I think it really depends because obviously there are some weeks that are going to be better than others. I try to be really mindful of what we're buying and when it's going to get eaten, but sometimes things pop up, don't they? Or you miss the date on something and, you know, I think because there are some people, aren't there, that aren't that bothered by sell by dates.
Mm-hmm.
And I do try and be a little bit flexible when it comes to some things, but to meat and stuff, I'm just not.
Meat and fish is kind of a dangerous
Yeah,
zone,
I'm
isn't
not
it?
really willing to take that risk.
And milk.
And milk. Although with milk, I feel like you can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
You know when that's gone bad. And I know people say that with meat, but I don't know. Meat always has a funny smell to me.
Yeah.
And especially now I don't eat meat, it just always smells. So,
dear.
no, I don't mean like, oh my God, it's things.
No,
or
I
whatever,
understand.
But
yeah.
I just mean like, I would find that really difficult. And I just wouldn't want to take that risk. It would just make me feel absolutely horrendous if I cook something that then upset any of you.
Imagine, you'd be like the prime suspect, wouldn't you?
Like the mushroom lady in Australia, I think.
Right.
When she cooked the pie with the bad mushrooms and everybody died except for her.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, so I try and be a lot more mindful about that. And I do think we waste a lot less than we used to.
When you've got young children, though, you're going to waste a lot because they won't eat one day and they'll eat the next day.
Well, that's another thing.
It's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I remember when the kids were babies and I would make all this lovely food for them.
Yeah.
And especially like we did baby-led weaning, which is basically you let them choose what they eat. I mean, they kind of eat along the side of what you're eating, but a lot goes on the floor, a lot is wasted. And that's, you do just kind of have to suck it up a little bit, I guess.
I feel like every single week Ed gets a mention, right? But I know, for example, that when his wife was pregnant, he did a massive amount of cooking, not to throw it away, obviously, but to freeze it.
Yeah, well, we did that too. I did that before each pregnancy too.
Yeah.
Because that is, and yeah, I would say that.
I thought it was a really cool idea.
No, absolutely. I remember doing the same thing. Like anything that you can cook and have as an easy meal in the freezer is a really good idea. And if we cook or whatever and there's leftovers, I always try and make sure that you then have them for lunch the next day so that it's not wasted.
And they always taste better. And it's funny because I love your cooking, right? I mean, I could just live the rest of my life eating your cooked food. But there's a thing about next day food. It's so good. I don't know what it is. If it's like matured a bit, but my God.
But you know what else that makes me think of? When we went on the cruise ship, the amount of wasted food. Actually to the point where the kids noticed it and picked up on it. Because you're there with just absolute buffets of everything. There is so much food available. And
all the time.
The first couple of days, you would take a bit of everything because, it's all new and you want to try stuff. And then you sort of slowly realize that actually I can't eat that much. So I think we did get better after a couple of days, but we would look at other families that would just bring, plates and plates of food. And yes, they were bigger families. They were sitting together. The idea was sharing. But so much of that would get wasted. Even just like whole plates of fruit that they would bring to the table, but that wouldn't get eaten. And of course, they can't then reuse that. They can't put that back. So, then you've got the staff coming around and throwing all that food away. And it's just unbelievable.
Well, hopefully it gets, I don't know. You hope it would get composted or something would happen to it, but you don't.
It probably, I don't know. I don't know how that works. Maybe because I know that the company do a lot to try and protect the environment. But even so, that's still huge amounts of food that are not being used or eaten.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously we've all heard about, the supermarkets that throw out all that food, and there are people, I don't know if it's so much in the UK or if it's more in America, that they call it dumpster diving.
Yes, certainly. Heard of that.
Yeah, and they go and take out, not just food, but goods as well, but food specifically, what we were talking about.
What's that service that Jake mentioned over here, which is when restaurants throw it out, but you can buy it on the cheap, sensibly?
Well, yeah, so is it Good to Go? Good to Go. Maybe.
Something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, places like Costa, Greg's, like bakeries, Gales, all these different places. There's an app that you can use, and you don't know what you're getting.
No.
It might be like £5 for a bag,
Might be too
or
good
whatever.
to go, something like that.
Too good to go. I think that's what it is. And you pay on the app, and then you go and pick it up like at the end of the day. Yeah, that's quite a good one. But
Yes.
again, but you don't necessarily know what you're getting. So you could get there and have like one sad, lonely sausage roll and like a stale croissant.
A
But
wheel
then
of
I've seen
cheese,
other
yeah.
videos where people have done it and they've had like a whole bag full of loads of things. So yeah, if that's in your area, I think that would be.
Do you remember years and years ago, I went out with Dwayne to do like a gig somewhere. And on the way back, we did Uber Pool, right? And we met a lady who sat in the front of the car, and she worked at
I do
Gales
remember
Bakeries.
this. Yeah.
And she's like, I can't remember, I just sort of offhandedly said, oh, I'm so hungry. And she turned around and said, would you like a cake?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, would I like a cake? And she's like, well, I work at Gales and I have to take home all the stuff and dispose of it later anyway. It's not going to get eaten if you don't eat it. So we got this amazing posh box with a cake in it,
Yeah.
and brought it back.
Yeah, I think I do remember that.
We
Gales
were
are
not
so
expecting
expensive,
that.
but do such nice things.
Yeah.
That's one of my dad's favourite little stop-offs on the way home sometimes.
She was very nice, that lady.
Well, yeah. Just give you a free cake. Why not?
Food savers, man.
Yeah. So that's the whole food wastage.
Yeah.
Then we have like obviously plastic and packaging. And again,
This is such a tough one.
it is a really tough one because we've all had that conversation over the years about Amazon packaging and other retailers that send stuff and you think, why are you sending that tiny thing in such a massive box or with so much packaging? And I know that there have been talks that they've tried to reduce it and things, but sometimes it just feels like it's a bit over the top. But then on the flip side, if you receive a package that doesn't have adequate packaging
And it gets broken.
and your item comes damaged, you know, you've got all of that to deal with. So I guess it's
Swings
a
and
tricky-
roundabouts,
It is, yeah.
as we say.
So again, within the same period, the statistics are that the weekly waste for UK households, they throw away an estimated 1.7 billion pieces of plastic packaging.
I
So
can
that's
see
a
that.
week.
Yeah. Even crisp packets. If they were made of like paper, it'd be better.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is cost though, isn't it? In the manufacturing process.
Yeah, a lot
Everything is costly and then the products go up in price. People can't afford it. It's just like a horrible cycle.
Yeah.
So the annual waste equals approximately 90 billion pieces of plastic. So that's a year. And only 17% of this plastic is recycled in the UK.
Okay.
With a
could do
higher
better at that.
proportion being incinerated, which
We keep a bag in the
Again,
cupboard for
incinerated.
recycling.
we do, but I'm not really sure that it's worth it because we have, well, currently we have no bins because we have a
Bin
bin
crisis.
in our block.
Yeah.
But the bin we have or should have like a room, it's the bin room, and it has really big, large bins for all of the flats within our block that can use.
In America, can we call it the trash stash?
The trash stash, nice.
Say that when you're drunk.
Yeah, so you have the recycling bins and you have the normal bins. And a lot of the time, people put normal rubbish into the recycling bins. And I'm pretty sure, or I certainly read this before, I don't know what it's like now, but I can't imagine it's changed, that if there is regular waste, so non-recyclable items in the recyclable bins, it all has to get thrown away.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how or if that's changed now, but that's certainly how it used to be.
Well, it probably is because, you know, people just bury their head in the sand and don't change.
Yeah, I think when you've got, because I know in individual houses it's very different. Like my parents, they have a recycling bin, they have a regular bin, they have a food waste bin, and you can get like bags for green waste. So that's like your garden rubbish.
Right.
The food waste they use, we don't do food waste, the bins are not available for that for us.
Yeah.
So that's not an option. Because they have individual bins in individual houses, it's much easier for the bin men to keep track of what's going on. So they will open it, they will have a quick glance. If there are things in the recycling bin that shouldn't be there, they will not take that rubbish. They will put a label on it that says this is not being taken. You have to deal with that.
Sure.
Obviously, that doesn't necessarily stop people, I guess, filling up plastic bags, like bin bags, with recycling. But then your main bin is going to be full much quicker.
Yeah.
So that kind of is counterproductive anyway. But that you can at least kind of have a control over. They, the councils and everything have some say over. When it's on a scale like we have, they provide the bins, but whether they're used correctly or not is not obviously manageable.
No.
So although, yes, we separate and I try and put as much recycling into that bin as possible, I don't know whether it's having any impact or not.
No, but you see, the thing about that is, even if we don't, we should still do it, because it's...
Of course, yeah.
It's the apathy of other people that go, well, I don't know if it's having an effect, therefore I won't bother, which means that it never gets done.
No, I totally agree with you.
So
no,
we have
and I
to
would
keep
still
doing
do it because it just feels wrong otherwise. But I just mean that I think there has to be
a concerted effort,
something.
or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I just think there's just a lot of people that just are so, what's the word?
Anti-green.
Uninterested. They're just uninterested. They just don't, they're uneducated, they're uninterested. They don't feel that they need to be part of it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately in blocks, you can't really control that.
No. Can only do our bit.
Yeah. Which, is tricky. Another thing that really impacts the overconsumption is the actual buying, so the consumerism, the buying of clothes and electronics and just things, I guess.
Lots of things.
Yeah, I don't think I have specific statistics on it, but the amount of energy and water and all of these things that goes into actually making the clothes specifically. I mean, there was like a crazy one that I read, but I think I've scanned over it, about the amount of water that it takes to make a pair of jeans.
Really?
It's actually insane.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it's like the growing of the cotton.
Yes.
Which is, it grows in hot climates.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. I'm going to try and find it. So I have now managed to find it.
Nice.
It can take around 7,500 to 10,000 litres of water to produce just one pair of denim jeans. Partly because the cotton plants that are used to make the fabric often grow in hot and dry countries, so they need a lot of watering. So that is around 10 years worth of drinking water for one person. That's for one pair of jeans.
You just wouldn't.
Isn't that insane?
Believe that.
I mean, I think I have like 5 pairs of jeans upstairs. Like
Wow.
It wouldn't even come into your brain. Like,
no.
Fast fashion, I think is what they call it. And just this like constant availability.
Yeah. The upside to that, if you will, is that jeans are very tough usually and hard wearing. So when you're done with them, you could give them to somebody else so that it,
of course,
I would say, offsets your carbon footprint. You know what I mean? But
yeah, but that's the thing, is people need to be encouraged to do that and not just throw things away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is that fast fashion is that thing of these jeans, these things, they're not in fashion right now. I don't want to wear them anymore. I'm just going to chuck them. And
seems crazy when they're like not worn out or anything.
Yeah, but I guess it's that thing of, well, I don't like them anymore. Do I keep everything that I've ever had?
No.
But I guess it depends. I don't necessarily personally stick to fashion trends. I tend to pick trends that I like.
Yeah.
But, even I am very guilty of buying new clothes to make myself feel better.
But you don't just stick them in the food bin and call it a day after
I
the
don't
fact.
ever throw any clothes out unless they are, damaged. Like they cannot be used. We donate using a company called I Collect, purely for the fact that they come round and collect, which is great. So, I try and wait until we've got a significant amount. I wouldn't just, because again, they're driving around, there's no point doing it.
2 items.
Exactly.
In a
So I
plastic bag.
wait until we've got, multiple bags. They come, they collect the stuff, it's donated, they use it to, resell. I would never put anything in there that wasn't of an okay quality to be sold. Or we sell, I used to sell on eBay, now I sell on Vinted. There's a lot to be said about these pre-loved sites for clothing like that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sometimes I think people, and it can be a lot of work doing it, especially when you get absolute weirdos that you have to deal with. I mean, we've, Jake and I, because he sells on Vinted, not clothes, he sells his computer items, but we've all had, the dodgy buyers, sellers, whatever.
The ones that want to take a £3 item down to 50p.
Yeah.
And you're just like, get out.
Or a £50 item down to 10 and you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? But that is a really good way of recycling.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully things not just being chucked so easily.
I want to mention furniture as well, because my first house / our first house together was kitted out with furniture from a donation place, right? The 2 sofas I had, the corner table, and the big long desk that lasted me 2 houses all came from like a reclamation place, whatever you call that. Even my wardrobe, actually, that big oak wardrobe that ended up being the kids. Yeah. All from one place.
Yeah. There is definitely something to be said for recycling in that respect. And I think things are made differently now.
People that don't know, that are young, would not believe us when we say this. It's not just an old person's take on it. It's just
not
fact.
at all.
It's fact.
Yeah, that's why pieces of furniture could be, recycled and reused and passed from different families. Now, I mean, look, it's not saying like, oh, everything that's made now is just going to fall apart and it's awful.
But it's made to a much lower standard. Most of it is.
Unless you are buying from, the higher end places.
Right.
Which we can't really, not many people now can always afford to do. So
No.
It is much more
But for
about
example,
the mass-produced.
Our IKEA dining table, I think it was IKEA, wasn't it? Or something.
The one that we have now?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That isn't going to be donated because it's falling to pieces.
No, absolutely.
And it's only been with us the length of our relationship. Actually, less than.
10 years.
Right? And it's already junk.
I mean, it still stands. It's just a bit creaky.
But like your parents' dining table is a better example. That thing is years old.
Yeah, very different.
Solid as a rock.
Manufacturing and wood and all of that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. It is different.
Things are not made like they used to be. And that's just not like a 40-something saying that to be contrary. No.
No, it is true. But that part of that is because everything becomes cheaper. It's cheaper to make this, therefore everybody can have it, as opposed to back in the day where it was more of a luxury to have more stuff. Yeah. So people don't necessarily look after it in the same way because, well, I can just replace it. It's fine.
Very true.
And look, we are all guilty of doing it. There will always be times when you'll say, oh, I just can't deal with, I don't know, cleaning it, or I want a different one or whatever. But I guess we need to just try and be a bit better.
That's fair, isn't it?
Can you think of any other ways in which we try to consume less? The phones you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we consume them less, but we make sure that they're handed down and not just tossed in a bin after the fact.
But then I think we do consume less because we have a contract which allows us to, every few years, replace our phones. The kids then get the ones that we've had.
Yeah.
And then those previous ones are sold on. They're never thrown away, like you said.
No.
So...
Yeah, in that case, that's something that we do try.
I mean,
to
look, in probably a better world, you wouldn't keep replacing your phone. And maybe that will become less and less for us as a family. But
yeah, I think so.
We do try, don't we, to...
And look after the stuff as well. I remember we sold a phone to Kelly once, one of mine, and because it was always in a case, always looked after, had no scratches. I put it back in its original box because I always keep the boxes, and I put in a brand new cable and a plug, and she's like, "Did you actually use this thing?" It's like, "Yeah, for 2 years," but it looked new.
Yeah.
Never dropped on its face, had its screen cracked, like all of that.
No,
I really tried to look after electronics, and I don't know why. It's a weird sort of thrill when I sell something to somebody and it's in a bag or looked after super well, and I always try to toss in some goodies or something. Like I sold a laptop to James, and in the bag I left like a spare USB hub and random cables that he might find useful and stuff like this. Just,
yeah, you do always do that.
The bare minimum is so dull, and it feels like you just don't care. But I'll always try to go the extra mile because I just think it's right. And it means, therefore, that it's not just going to sit on a shelf in my house gathering dust. Someone else might find a use for it. And I prefer that.
Absolutely. And, if you can make a little bit of money back for that very expensive item, then that's always helpful, isn't it?
Oh, big time, yeah. One time, talking of plastic a bit, I bought this thing from Amazon. Actually, it was to go on James's laptop, although it was mine at the time. And it was a shell, like I've got on my laptop now, right?
Yeah.
And so basically it's very snug fitting, a bit like leggings. You climb into them and it fits around you very, very tightly and very nicely.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the item came wrapped in no less, I'm sure, than 6 layers of plastic. So you take off one and you think, okay, that's it, you've got to the item. No, it kept going, it kept going. I had never held so much plastic, and it was basically the stuff that plastic bags are made of. And it filled the bin.
Plastic bags are worst, though.
It was terrible. I was like very upset by this, and there were 2 pieces, right, top and bottom. So both of these pieces were wrapped so many times in plastic, and the item is plastic.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. I was just so shocked by the amount of
just
crap
because
on
plastic is so cheap in that respect.
I feel like that one, they just like got to the end of the roll and were like, okay,
we'll
just
use it up.
keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Oh, no.
The seller won't care. The seller cared. The buyer, sorry.
Do you know the worst thing I absolutely hate if I go to the shop and I've forgotten to take my reusable bags?
Yes.
I have like a couple that are such nice bags, and if I suddenly think, I need to pop to the shop when I'm out and I haven't got a bag, I hate buying a plastic bag.
10p?
10, 15. Some are 15, some are 20, depending on where you are.
When we were younger, again, sounding old, I'm sure it was 5p a bag, and before that they were free. They would just give you them.
They were free until we were like in our 20s, no?
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. They were all free. Like, do you remember the shopping would come?
Yep.
Like shopping delivery, which would be loads of bags.
Yes.
I mean, gosh, the amount of plastic bags.
We would stash them in a bag.
Well, I think everybody did.
We had a bag for a bag.
You had a bag of bags. But then, like, I mean, it's still not good because it's still plastic being used, but you'd use them as like bin liners for small bins. Or,
yeah, exactly. That was a good use for that.
Put rubbish and stuff. But it's still so bad, the amount of plastic that is.
It's funny now, because now you've said that, I don't see plastic bags a lot as I used to.
No, because I don't buy them. Well, I try really hard
but
not
like
to.
in general, from anybody. I just don't see a lot of plastic bags.
No.
Which is fine with me, but yeah.
Some stores, try and use paper bags as much as possible.
Yeah. If you're going to get a plastic bag, I like the ones with the quality, the thicker, and you get good handles. Yes, I'm always
I mean,
about
that is the
reusable.
point of them usually, so that you can reuse them.
I'm sure there's a sketch in Two Doors Down about plastic bags and them complaining about plastic bags. I think it's Christine. No.
Oh, maybe.
It's pretty mad. But we have to talk about electronics. I mean, we have talked about phones a bit, but like in general,
Yeah.
I told you to check out some things, didn't I?
You told me to have a
Spotify
look.
car thing.
Oh, I did not get to check that one out. You sent me a link to something which I had a look about, which was that car with the software that went out of business.
Yes, this is true for a lot of devices
So,
we
I
have
mean, that
now.
kind of ties in.
It does.
So that was a lady that bought a car. I forget the brand. Do you remember?
It had a weird name.
Fisker?
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course. Oh, that made a
Yeah.
big splash in the media.
So this particular person had bought this car, had problems with it. It had software and in-app, where you can unlock through the app and all of that kind of stuff. It's like a £35,000 car,
Lovely.
or between 35 and 60,000
wasn't it?
pound car.
I remember that part.
And then the company went bankrupt. And so this person was unable to then, get anything done, fix the car or the software, and so was unable to use it. So was just left with basically a lump of a car sat on her driveway.
That's
And that was
so
it.
bad. That's really bad. And it was there for years, right?
I think so.
And
Yeah,
further
because
down
they
in the
just
same
didn't
article.
have like any engineers or anything that could do anything.
No. And I remember further down in the same article, I think there's some race car from the 90s that requires an old Windows 95 laptop to run to start the car, if you scroll down a bit, if I recall.
Let's talk about a Tesla.
Yeah, those are interesting. But this one's older. This is a 90s car that still
it a
has software.
McLaren?
That's the one.
Yeah, a McLaren that needed, an old Windows operating system along with specialized interface hardware for maintenance and to start the car. And they were saying they're up against time.
Yes, because these things die eventually. Laptops stop working, the batteries die, the hard drive seize up, whatever it is. So we
I
have...
think it's so sad that, when you think of old classic cars, and they are, they go back to what, 50s, 60s, 70s,
Even
40s,
earlier, yeah. I've been
all
in
of
some
those.
old cars.
We're not going to have any classic cars from this time then, are we?
Because they're all
it's-
made of junk.
Yeah. So
Okay,
in
that's
100
not
years,
fair. They're a lot made of
in
junk.
50 to 100 years time, they're not going to be looking back in these times going, oh, do you remember that classic car, the whatever? Because they're not lasting.
It'd be like...
That's really sad. At some point, there just won't be any more classic cars.
They'll be like MindTube, right? And they'll be like, hi guys, what's up? Look at this classic Tesla with the iPhone 13 Pro. And
can't be
we can't
driven.
pay for the heated seats anymore because the software is offline,
Yeah.
but we can drive it.
And those cars where once the battery's dead and then you can't replace it, so they're all just dumped.
Oh, yes.
All of those things. It's just crazy.
And yet you can go back to like a
don't
1930s tractor, put petrol in it or
Yeah,
gas
people
and turn
work
it on.
on them. Old school mechanics that actually fix the
Yep.
cars. They fix them up, don't they? And
But this is a problem of society right now, is that we have an over-reliance on controlling our stuff digitally and less about
Yeah, I
the
don't
actual interface with a key or even on-device buttons. I mean, when I think back to the 90s, we were still doing it then. You could buy stereo systems or video recorders or whatever in the 90s, or TVs with one or two buttons and everything on the remote. And if you lost the remote, you were SOL.
yeah.
Okay? That hasn't changed. It's gotten worse. Because now everything is controlled with an iPhone app.
Yes, to the point
Or a
where
smartphone
even when the apps go down and you can't turn your lights on and off.
This is it. This is it. Techmoan did a video
That drives
recently.
me mad. I know that I know how much you like having the lights and
It's not about
all of that.
it's more of a convenience because
It
when
is
you guys
convenient.
aren't here,
No,
I know
absolutely. And I would never change it and everything. But it
has its uses.
really does
drive you mad.
Drive me mad when I'm just like, I just want to turn the light on. And it'll be like, I don't know what you're asking for. Or, I cannot connect right now. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's brainless.
Please just turn on the freaking light to the brightness that I just a normal brightness. I don't want it dimmed. I just want a light.
Yes.
That is it. Just turn on the light.
A light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
No, I get that. Techman did a video recently about a stereo system. A stereo system which once would have had a remote and now is controlled with a phone app. And there were so few buttons on it that it made it basically useless without the app.
Oh.
You shouldn't need an app to control household goods all the time.
No.
It's not right.
No, it's really not.
I'm not a fan of that. I mean, you have Alexa-powered microwaves, right? If Alexa's offline, your microwave isn't going to work. This is a thing now.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? You need buttons and you need physical access to things that doesn't require the internet, doesn't require Wi-Fi all the time for it just isn't necessary. And that, like our lights, I know they're annoying, but at least we do physically have on-off switches if we need them.
We do. Yeah.
So it's not like where massive, crazy people that don't even have switches or anything. That is beyond the pale even for me.
No, I could never, when you see those really modern,
Nah, not into that.
new built, crazy expensive places and everything is done on a screen. And that would just freak me out. Actually, I would.
Yeah.
I'd be really scared.
I don't like the idea of that.
If an intruder came in and like cut the wires or something and then you're stuck. Don't like that.
I think there was a touch screen on the cruise ship for the temperature controls even. And there's no physical buttons on it. You just swipe your finger or do whatever it is.
Yeah, but I mean, it was quite basic.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, it was a
you
touch
had to
screen.
use a touch screen to do basic things that a normal switch would have sufficed for.
True.
This kind of
Or
stuff
dial.
irritates me a great deal. Or a dial. Hey, yeah, don't discount dials, Dials be cool, bro. But yeah, stuff like this. Now, I did mention one other thing, didn't I? Google Stadia.
Yes.
So Google Stadia they had a gaming service and they offered you for a small fee a Chromecast Ultra that supported the gaming service and a controller. And they did it for a while and they do what Google always does. That is to run something for a bit and then say, nah, can't be bothered. We're cancelling it. So they cancelled it. And I don't believe they offered to refund anybody that bought it. I could be wrong about that. Please don't quote me. I did not do final research because we were a Stadia subscriber for a while.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the controller was lovely, right? Genuinely a really good controller. Very well built, very well thought out. The R&D on it was excellent. It's Google. They had lots of money. But what they didn't do for a while, and this upset a lot of people, was allow them to use that controller for some other use. They locked it down, very Stadia specific, and until there was some outcry, there was no way to do anything else with it at all. So when Stadia's offline, you just had this brick of a controller with a battery inside that you couldn't really recycle easily unless you were going to dismantle it and throw it away safely. But in the end, they gave you a firmware that you uploaded via USB from a browser to allow you to use it with any other device. Good on them. That was the right thing to do. The wrong thing to do, however, was Spotify car thing. And I know that I was mentioning that to you earlier. And
I don't know about it though.
Okay, let's have a look because this one is a really bad thing. When you see what they did, you'll be quite mad.
What was it? Spotify CarPlay?
Car thing.
Spotify car
Literally, car thing.
thing.
Yeah, have a read. You'll see.
So it says that Spotify's Car Thing was a voice-activated dashboard controller for its streaming service, launched in 2022 to add modern functionality to older vehicles.
Yeah.
Required a premium account and a smartphone connection. Due to low demand and a shift in strategy, Spotify discontinued it in July 2022.
Right. Not even a year, okay?
Yeah. And
But
rendered
what they did...
all units inoperable as of December 2024.
Right. They didn't offer any refunds. It was £90 to buy it, I think, or $90 or something.
$90, yeah.
And when they bricked it, which they did server side, it could do nothing. Nothing. They didn't sort of open source the firmware so that people could reuse it for any purpose. They just...
So you effectively bought something for
Yeah.
a matter of months that was then...
It was a rug pull
Yeah.
in the worst way.
Isn't that crazy that that's like
It's
allowed
disgusting.
to happen?
Like if there was something inside that could have been reused, let's say it was like a Raspberry Pi or something, you could take that out, reuse it, do something with it. It's possible that the community of great hackers out there did something with it.
Well, it does
but I don't
say that despite it being officially bricked, some tech-savvy users have explored jailbreaking the Linux-based
Good.
device for other uses. But it only says explored, doesn't say specifically whether that has been successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really
Absolutely
crazy.
mad.
Mm.
Well, that is the last thing I could think of that annoyed me greatly. But we live in this world now that if it's not tied to online or something, and there's a saying, I believe it goes like, you will own nothing in whatever year it is and be happy about it. So everything is a subscription. And if you don't pay that subscription, too bad. No, I lie. I forgot about something. HP and the printer ink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That one is interesting. I don't know if they're still doing this, but again, massive outcry, massive backlash. But I think it boiled down to the fact that HP, you could buy a printer cheaply and you subscribe to the ink, right? So you had special ink cartridges. If you stopped paying for your printer subscription, the ink didn't work.
What? But what if you just decided, well, I'm going to use this up and then, I'm not really printing much, so I don't want to have it. You just can't use it.
They don't care. You cannot use the ink anymore.
So terrible.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. Luckily, we are Epson users and we buy when we want. Pay as you print, print as you go, however you want to call it. And I like this mentality. I will not subscribe to something holding my paper hostage.
No.
Any last words?
No.
Okay.
No, except to say, make sure that you listen
All the way to the end.
after we finish, because there is an extra tied in.
There is. This one is a good one, okay? A really, really good one.
Make sure you listen.
Listen beyond the outro music.
So my Stroonge news this week is courtesy of you.
Uh-huh.
And this is about an Amazon delivery driver who had to abandon their van on the deadliest footpath swallowed by sea after following GPS to the island. So this is in the UK.
bias.
You'd feel like this is
Confirmation bias.
Yeah. You feel like this would be somewhere else. It's actually not. It's in the Broomway at Great Wakering in Essex.
Wow.
So the HM Coast Guard were called to a report of a van left abandoned on the 14th of February. The driver is thought to have been following his GPS when he got stuck on the mud flats in the tidal causeway, described as Britain's deadliest footpath. So a spokesman for the Coast Guard said that the delivery driver had removed themselves from the van and reported the incident to Amazon. And that the van then had to be rescued, I guess. I mean, at least the driver was safe.
Yeah.
They got out and they were safe. But yeah, it was not a great place to be.
Well, that one have caused lots of e-waste because all those electronics that are now waterlogged and cannot be used, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Congratulations. All those people that didn't get their parcels that day.
Well, at least the driver was safe, because I think I read somewhere on a different article that lots of people have lost their lives.
On
due
this
to
causeway?
things- Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the tide coming up and, taking
It's
people
tidal
out.
based. So if the tide is low, you can see the path, and if it's not, or something. Yeah.
So they were trying to reach, I've never heard of this place, Foulness Island.
I think I have. Foulness.
Have you? Foulness.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, actually, maybe I have heard of it.
It's about how you say it in your mind.
Yeah, it is. I'm saying foulness, but it's
Yeah.
foulness.
Foulness, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know why there's not a better way to reach it, or you can't reach it. Like, I don't know. I feel
Maybe
like
there's
that
a car
needs...
ferry. Maybe you're supposed to use a ferry, but he just drove his van because he's invincible. You're not, mate. Sorry.
No,
It doesn't work like that.
I don't know. Here it says it's estimated that 100 people have died on this path, giving it the reputation and is often referred to as the Doom Way.
Oh, wow. Doom.
Yeah.
What a cool article.
So yeah, don't drive along there, guys.
Yes. And please don't just trust GPS. Trust your eyes as well. You have them for a reason. I don't.
I mean, he kind of did eventually once he got stuck.
It was a bit late by then, mate.
Yeah, it's true.
You drowned the van.
Yeah.
Silly man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to toss in 2 quick other things that I thought of after the news. Phone related.
Okay.
Until recently, Android phones often didn't give you more than about 2 or 3 years worth of updates. Now, I think Google mandated 6 or 7 years of updates. But Apple have been doing that for a very long time. And in fact, Apple recently updated the iPhone 5S, which I think is a 10-year-old device, with a security update because they thought it was that important to do so. I have a Samsung phone from 2019 that stopped getting updates in 2023, meaning that anytime I go out with it, I'm technically vulnerable. That's a real shame because the device is working perfectly, it's in good order, and it's one of many.
Yeah, it's really bad, isn't it?
It is. It's a shame.
Yeah.
But on that note, stay after the music. Don't tune out. There is something really cool coming up in just a minute. So, please like and subscribe. Do these usual things. Follow us. Leave us comments. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a long one, and it's about to get even longer. If you're watching the time on your screen, you can see there's quite a bit to come. So without further ado,
Bye.
Jake, welcome. You've not been here since episode 7, and now we're on 75. So you've been absent, but you're not dead. We didn't bury you in a chest freeze or anything.
No, you didn't. Luckily.
But look, we've been talking about e-waste today, right? And you've done a lot of things over the last few years that I've been very proud of. Did you know that today was International Brag About Someone Called Jake Day? You didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't know that.
Now you know, right? So a couple of days ago, you showed me something very cool, and you did something for a school friend. What did you do?
Well, his laptop was overheating and underperforming. So he came around and I changed the thermal paste, took out the fans and cleaned them and replaced the thermal paste for him.
Excellent. So do you think that a lot of people are getting rid of equipment, particularly phones and things, way too soon just because they look dead, but they're not dead inside?
Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't really know as much. They're just, I don't want to say it, but some people are just lazy to look it up and, find a solution. So they just disregard it and don't even think about trying to self-repair or something, because it's so easy nowadays to just throw, electronics behind and not even try. So, yeah.
Do you remember the first thing I showed you when you were about 10?
I think it was a hard drive.
Yeah, we looked in some hard drives, didn't we? We took them apart, turned them into wind chimes. We still have one of the discs floating around the house.
Exactly.
And that was because they were dead, but it was just kind of like to get you. My dad showed me a lot of the same things. He showed me how to open up things, and I wanted to pass it down. So we opened up some stuff together, and then you went crazy and showed me lots of things that I had no idea.
I've done a lot, actually.
Tell us some of the things you've done over the last few years, because you've done some crazy cool things I've been extremely proud of.
Well,
Xbox for one.
Xboxes, PlayStations, lots of laptops.
How about the story of my laptop?
Okay, your laptop, yeah. It was just an unfortunate event.
Oh, man. But I got a new machine out of it.
You did get a new machine at least, so it kind of worked out.
But what happened with it?
Well, I tried to clean it. It was a while ago.
Yes.
And this stupid hinge it was an HP laptop. The hinge decided to not cooperate, and
they stayed shut, didn't it?
Yeah.
And we didn't realize for
didn't know how to force it open.
2 days.
And then it basically broke the plastic on it, and then
yeah,
it was
and I bought a new one.
Yeah.
What has been your best job today. What do you think?
Oh, my best job.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like it would be the old PC that you gave me to restart, because I think that taught me so much. Because when I had to replace the power supply from it because the fan was broken and it was making a bad noise.
Yes.
And I somehow killed it, and I still don't know how. I'm assuming it was static electricity. But that taught me so much, because we ended up buying a new motherboard and I replaced it all by myself.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? That was our first big deal. Motherboard.
Exactly. Yeah, it was costly, but I think that taught me the most and allowed me to experience, what mistakes can actually teach you. They teach you the most, I feel like. So.
But I've always said to you, like, you have to learn by doing. And if you don't ever fail, then every success it's unfortunate, actually.
Yeah.
Because if all you do is succeed and never fail, then when you do fail, it will hurt way more.
Exactly. That's why I think that was definitely my best repair, or at least so far.
What about the most recent one, though? Because honestly, when I told your mum about that, she thought you took it to a shop to get fixed. She didn't know you did it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
She underestimated you.
So I bought an iPhone 13 mini with a broken screen,
Lovely
and dead
phones.
battery. And I bought on Amazon a replacement battery and screen. And within maybe 30 minutes,
Yep.
I had it replaced.
I was sat there watching him do it.
To be honest, it was a really easy job. I think anyone can do it, Genuinely, anyone can do it. It did not take long. You get the tools that you need with it from Amazon. So
what surprised me is that you had to replace the digitizer from the old screen yourself.
Yeah.
I didn't know it didn't come with the new screen. So that was really impressive to me. So you had very, very fine screws, didn't you, to take them off the back of the old screen?
Very, very small screws.
Swap apart across.
Yeah. It's always handy to have something magnetic to keep the screws on.
Oh, yeah.
Do something like that.
I gave you a funny thing, didn't I? That you,
like a wrist thing.
wrist.
I still use it.
Very useful. What do you think, then, is in your future in terms of saving things? Because all this stuff, right, it matters. We've got 2 old phones, for example, don't we? We're still keeping them alive, the Androids that we've both got.
I just hope I can keep most things, because to be honest, everything is so, I don't know the word for it, but it's so future-proofed to the point where, it will last for so long. So I just hope I can keep, older devices running as long as I possibly can with us new screens, batteries, back glass, even laptops, computers, anything. They all serve a purpose, and even if they are older,
servers,
they will
old
still do,
phones. What would you say to people saying, I've got this 3, 4, 5-year-old phone, I'll just chuck it?
I would say, if you have the time and the money, I would just do it yourself. It teaches you, good skills, patience, practice makes perfect as well. If you want to save money, go into a shop.
Yes.
So, even just doing it on a really old Android phone from 5-10 years ago is still anything, is going to contribute to the experience that you get. So that's what I would say.
A friend of mine has offered you to fix a Braille display. You need some soldering doing, but I don't think you've done much soldering.
I haven't done much soldering yet.
We need to get you some things to solder.
Yeah, that could be my next.
Maybe you can mess around on some gear.
Yeah.
Because I think they want you to fix that. I've been bragging about you on Mastodon the last couple of weeks. So I think that'd be quite fun.
I could definitely try.
I think so. Because I'm going to have you do the battery in our Android phones next, aren't I think?
Yes.
We need to buy those.
Exactly.
And I tried to pay him in food. That's what we do.
It's the best payment method for me.
Well, and me, to be fair, but
And
don't
you,
tell anyone.
Exactly.
I'm not doing a gig just for food. No, this is good. And I think there's a misconception, right? That when a phone is beyond its security updates, that you just need to throw it away. But we're not doing that.
No, I think companies push that too much as well. They push the fact that once a phone or laptop or anything is past its last security update, that's it, it's obsolete. But that's far from the truth.
Look at Microsoft on Windows 10.
Exactly. Windows 10 PCs are still fairly more than capable of doing basic tasks, but
I'm
Windows
still
keeps
rocking one
pushing
right
it.
now.
Exactly.
My machine is as old as Alice, and it's my daily driver.
Yeah.
In fact, I used it to edit this very podcast. It's still fine. But just because it doesn't run Windows 11, Microsoft seem to think it's past its sell-by date, use-by date. It hasn't gone off yet.
Exactly, which just shows you don't need to listen to big companies telling you your device is, that's it, it's done.
Nope.
Never is, unless you make it.
Or it breaks.
Or it actually breaks, like things can last for ages.
Yes, I think that's true. And I think, for example, a lot of things can be turned into Linux servers, can't they? And then it can be
that runs a lot faster.
repurposed.
They don't, keep telling you your PC's about to break in 5 seconds if you don't update to the next driver or whatever.
So much of that.
Exactly.
And also you got into graphics cards and you were able to repurpose old graphics cards. And especially right now, given the RAM crisis and the SSD crisis, these are really useful times to be doing that.
Very useful.
You sold a lot of good gear in the last few months.
Sold a lot of stuff, actually, yeah.
A lot of stuff. And of course, there was that PC gate. We had the 2 boxes of PCs that wouldn't leave the house because of Yodel.
I did. I built 2 PCs.
Horrible Yodel.
And then managed to sell them eventually.
You did. To be fair, I don't think that this crisis will last too long and you can get back to selling more.
I hope not. Hopefully in the summer, by summertime, it will be gone or there will be some solution to it.
Yeah, because you've got to build a PC for my youngest brother, don't we?
Yeah, I do.
Or younger brother, which would be nice. But the RAM is stopping that right now. If you haven't seen the price of RAM, it's through the roof right now at the time of recording. I think that, what was it? We looked at the RAM the other day, 64 gigs or something was like £300 or £400.
Not even 32 is like £300 for DDR4, I think.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Yikes.
32 gigs is about £200-300 used.
This should not happen.
Honestly, this AI boom is ridiculous.
Yes. Okay. Good question then. Thoughts on AI, what it's doing to the environment? Do you use it? Do you find it useful?
I find it useful. I do use it quite a bit, to be honest.
I've been vibe coding and finding it useful.
Exactly. I actually think AI is really good for development in technology as well, because it obviously allows us to develop faster than if we didn't have it.
Yes.
But I feel like it's taken too far. It's too accessible, I feel like.
That's
the
a good
extent
point,
that it
actually.
is too accessible for anyone to use. I mean, anyone can get any AI app now.
Yes.
So I feel like it's just been pushed too much.
Do you feel like the prevalence of AI is taking over everything else?
I feel like it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I use TikTok quite a lot and I see too many AI videos, bots in comments, just everything. There is so much AI content nowadays and it's so hard to tell because it's developing so fast. It's just getting crazy. I feel like it's getting out of hand.
How do we combat this?
I think there needs to be, well, hopefully they can stop this RAM boom.
Yes.
And they can find a solution to that first. And hopefully they can develop some different type of RAM or whatever. I feel like...
What's that RAM we talked about once?
I think it was CamRam.
CamRam, the Dell stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can use something like that in their servers, or just, I don't even know what they can really use, but just anything. But I feel like to stop all this AI content being pushed out there, because there's so much nowadays.
There is.
Maybe they could do like a law that does like I know it sounds silly, but like an AI check, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I know it sounds, really stupid, but
it doesn't really.
An AI check before you post something. Yeah, there needs to be at least something to prove and validate stuff, because you could get scammed so easily now with AI stuff as well.
Yeah, because voice cloning is a thing, video cloning is a thing. People are losing whole life savings because of technology.
Exactly.
And this is a bad use of tech.
Yeah, there's many good uses of AI and technology and stuff like that nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Like for me, I found it useful because I've been messing with coding and doing things I would never be able to do otherwise. But I still want to read the code and understand why it does what it does.
Yeah, exactly.
You
so,
know?
I mean, that is another, that's a good use. You could learn a skill, learn coding in Python. And
yeah, exactly. People would, of course, say that you're learning from something else that's writing bad code because it's not streamlined. Yes, this is true. Cannot argue with that. But if you learn anything from it at all, then I'd say it's better than learning nothing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, learning is like the best thing. I don't know, it sounds silly, but knowledge is the best power.
Knowledge is
to have.
power, that's what they say.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of learning this week.
I've done a lot of learning, yeah.
Lot
I
of
mean, even
revision.
over the past just 2 years, I've learned so much about tech and building and, how everything works. It's really good, actually.
What do you think you'd like to do? Like, if money was no object, right? What would be your dream? Fix this, build this, have this. What do you think?
It's a good question. I haven't really given it a thought, to be honest, because, it's quite far reach. I don't know, I feel like I would like to maybe just build the most minimal thing I can, just stuff as much tech as I can into something.
Like a baby sleeper.
Yeah, basically.
I feel like my speakers are sleepers until you hear the sub.
Yeah,
I get that.
They kind of are. Just pack as much tech as I can into one thing. I feel like that would be really satisfying.
I'm trying to think. I saw a video the other day of somebody doing something like that. Yes, it was. There's a channel I follow on YouTube called This Does Not Compute. And he put a Mac inside of an alarm clock.
Oh, wow.
Because it was designed like a Mac, but it was just like, aesthetically. It didn't have Mac innards, so he put a Mac inside. I thought that was very cool.
That is a very good use of a Mac.
Yeah, very sleeper stuff.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. And do you remember when we went to the Battersea Apple store? We said Arcade Dave's.
And then he put a
M1 Mac
M1
Mini?
Mac, I think, was in Mac Mini or something, was in the...
In a Mac Classic. I think it was a Mac Classic.
It was. I have a
That was
picture of
very
it still.
clever. Stuff like that would be cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, speaking of Apple, their RAM prices are now no longer expensive because of the RAM prices.
I know, right? Isn't that funny? I feel like we never would have seen the day, but
I never saw that coming.
Somehow come.
No, sir. All right. Well, look, thank you for being with us today. This is the first or second time you've ever been on.
Yes.
But you know what? I'm going to keep bragging about you. I want everybody to know the amazing stuff that you're doing. And anytime I have an issue with anything, I'm just handing it to you. You fixed my Ableton Move the other day.
I did.
You took it apart. We found the SD card. Because basically the card got corrupt. And I thought that it was too put together to be taken apart by non-engineers. But you did it.
Exactly. See, that's another misconception as well. Even you, who's quite advanced technology-wise, didn't even know, and it was super simple. And I mean, you put it back together yourself, didn't you, as well?
I did. It was just under the feet. You showed me the screws there.
It shows a little bit of confidence goes a long way when you want to save money.
It does. Thank you for fixing the things.
No problem.
Continue to fix
Thank
the
you
things.
for bragging about me to everyone and giving me a name.
Come on, that's what fathers have to do that, man.